I wrote a book and has a wonderful DVD available. It's available in our gift shop. Just see if you can find it.
Flying past now the brilliant corrugated fuselage of the Ju-52 with its full-length ailerons. This plane, although it is somewhat ponderous in its size, is quite maneuverable. Unfortunately, this maneuverability did it no favors during World War II. The slowness of the aircraft precluded its ability to evade detection or to outmaneuver fighter aircraft. These planes were manufactured in the thousands during the war. 3 separate attempts were made by the Germans to replace the airplane in service, but the plane soldiered on, as did the Hawker Hurricane, a plane whose first flight was in November of 1935. Many people see that the Spitfire was the greatest piston engine fighter of the Royal Air Force during World War II, but of course we now know that the Hawker Hurricane achieved far greater success in the Battle of Britain, mostly because there were more of them available. The planes were less difficult to manufacture, the Supermarine Spitfire being a handmade airplane. Supermarine had built barely 50 airplanes a year up to that time in its history, and certainly couldn't keep up with the manufacturing needs of wartime Great Britain. And so it took a man like Lord Beaverbrook to institute production methods, and actually it was at, I can't think of the manufacturing facility all of a sudden. There was a major shadow factory established for the Supermarine Spitfire that eventually enabled them to be built in great quantity. But at the time of the Battle of Britain, there were more Hurricanes available, and therefore they were fielded against the bombers of the Luftwaffe and their escorting fighters. Something else to be remarked about the Hawker Hurricane is that it was a much more primitive design in terms of the fact that, unlike the Spitfire, which had a stressed metal skin, the Hurricane had an internal framework, tubular aluminum framework, on which were hung various panels, whether they be the pieces of the fuselage, the wing panels, etc. That's not to say it was not a strong aircraft. In fact, it later became used very effectively in the role as a ground support airplane, having been superseded in the fighter role by newer designs and newer versions of the Supermarine Spitfire. Okay. Our Ju-52 would have encountered such aircraft in the Battle of Crete, in which Ju-52s were fielded in large number, carrying complements of between 12 and 13 paratroopers. Again, it's very difficult for us to conceive of the actual scale of operations. We have one 88mm anti-aircraft battery. They were used in the thousands and operated by over 1 million personnel during the war. The Ju-52 was built in the thousands, and hundreds of them were used in the airborne operation for the invasion and capture of the island of Crete, dropping their paratroopers to great effect. And the Hawker Hurricane, again, built in large numbers. This particular example, built in 1943 in Canada by the Canadian Car and Foundry Corporation. This plane unique for being in most